Hey guys, here is the final course for Agility League for the fall. So we're just going to go and see how the course flows, and then we'll look at some handling options. And okay, so let's start with 1, 2, 3 to 4. So the first thing we can do is lead out and then get a cross in here. You can either get a front or a blind cross. We could also rear cross the teeter as well. The only thing with a rear cross is a lot of dogs will not want to drive forward, and they have a tendency to turn back or even just get off the teeter. And also you easily could get hit as well, so I just prefer not to rear cross if possible. So those are the two options there. Another thing, if you decide to go for the cross up there, is really make sure that you don't forget to support two, because you're gonna want to race to get up there, especially depending on where this jump here is, because you might have to get around the wing. So make sure that you support two, and even if you are going this direction, you either say out, over jump, or just kind of keep your hand out there and make sure you tell your dog where you want them to go. Another option as well is to keep coming and just get on this side of the teeter up here, and you can either do a front blind, or you could also rear cross number 5 as well. This option works really well because you're not racing to get up here, and you kind of have to wait for them at the teeter. So this makes sure you support all the jumps. So that's another option. And the third option for the beginning is to lead out and then get up here for a front cross or blind cross. You could also just not do a cross at all, but I personally like to do like a half front cross, just so the dogs know that they're changing direction and going this way. And the cross kind of just helps them show that as they land and go to 3, that they need to be ready to turn. The biggest thing though is when you are up here is, I would say, either kind of get a running start, so either start here and then run a little bit and then do the cross, or make sure that you are on the right side, all the way on this side of the wing, so that way it's not in your way, so you don't have to go around it to support back to the teeter. So those are just a couple different options there. The biggest thing though is when you are up here is that you have your timing correct, because if you do it too early and then don't support two, you could get the dogs to just want to miss it and go straight to 3. But it also kind of depends on how 2 is in the path, if it's more this direction or if it's kind of lined up more 1, 2 to 3, and that's just the best path for the dog. So now we'll go from 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So one thing to be aware of is, depending on how 8 is set up, the best path for the dogs might be like the back side, or even skipping 8 in the same scenario of going just straight to 9. So make sure you support 8. So one thing we could do is get a cross in here. The biggest thing is when you get your cross, make sure you really pick up your dog, because 11 is here. It seems like it's farther out, but it's be hard to know till tomorrow. But if you do that, just make sure you pick up your dog front cross or blind cross. And the other thing too is make sure you can get around the wing and push back out to 8, because depending on how everything's lined up, they might want to just cut in this way. Another option as well is getting a blind or front in here, but as you do that, the dogs don't have a lot of momentum as they come off the teeter. So as you support 5, 6, 7 and then rush to get up here, you need to make sure you still support 6, because since they don't have a lot of momentum, they might just come with you and skip 6 entirely. The third option we could do is rear cross 8, but it's kind of like the same scenario we had 2 weeks ago, where as you rear cross, 9 is pretty far out here, So if you do rear cross, you could rear cross on this side, but you might be having to push your dog out this way if they don't have a nice go out. So another thing you could do as well is just stay on this side, put pressure on their line, and then rear cross 9 to show that turn that way. But it will kind of depend on how the course is set up. If 8 has a good rear cross, but with how the course is set up on paper, I feel like a lot of dogs will have a tendency to want to curl in and then not send out to 9 as we wish. And then we'll get stuck behind the wing and the jump. And I'll just go straight to the A-frame instead of taking number 9 jump. As we move on to, once we get past this area, we have 11, 12, 13 to 14. So couple options which look similar to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is we can get in here for a front arm blind. But just remember that we need to get around this wing to support 13. The other thing too is you need to make sure that you tell your dog you're turning and really pick them up, otherwise they could go over number 6 jump. And then once again, just depending on how this is lined up, it might make it difficult. And with the tunnel right here, dogs might want to go straight there if you don't get around to support that jump. Another option, as well as we talked about in the other loop, is send out to 11 and make sure you really send out because they don't have a lot of momentum because they're coming from a most likely stopped contact. And then you could get in here for a front or blind as well. And just remember the tunnel's right there, so you need to make sure you pick them up once again. And then the other option is you could come up here and then rear cross 14. And then I would start to put pressure on their line because as they come over this way, they're going to be looking at number 9 jump. So I would just put a tiny bit of pressure so that way they know that as they come this way that they are turning and going that way. And then once we get them on this side, it's a nice send out. Just make sure you pick them up a little bit so they know they're coming this way, and then run through a jump. So make sure you support 16, make sure they're with you and not wanting to go this direction. And then after you have them, run past the jump so that way they don't knock it over or decide to not take it because you're slowing down. So that kind of sums up everything on the course. If you have any questions, or we can talk about this back area as it's kind of similar, going both directions, having this way and then once again coming this way. They're very similar types of handling styles, so we can go back over that again if we need to.